Right, so another episode of Matthew's Blueprint for Britain, and you will have noticed it is not one Matthew, it is two Matthews, but the only difference is I have two T's in my name. He's only got one. It is Mathew Hulbert, someone who I know really, really well from not only Talk TV, but also the co-host of Political Frenemies, a rival podcast. Do you remember last week I had Dr. Chris Newton on my podcast, or maybe it was the week before? Well, I've got Mathew Hulbert on. I've got both of them now. Matthew, how are you?
I'm really good. Do you know, Matthew, I once asked my late mum, God rest her soul, I said, Mum, why did you just give me one T in my Matthew? Because it means that everyone therefore misspelled my name all the time. and sadly, she thought about it. She said, because Matthew, I think that what Matthew with one T is Matthew with one T, Matthew with two T's is Matthew. Let me get it right. Matthew with two T's is Matthew, and Matthew with one T is Matthew. I'm like, okay, Mum, whatever.
I guess from a phonetic point of view, yeah, the T and the H makes the th, whereas M-A-T is Matt and then Thew, but at the end of the day, you're wrong. You need another T in your name. So we'll gladly find one. I'll make a cup of tea later, and you can have that T as an honorary one.
Well, and can I just say to you that this is really exciting. I've been looking forward to this all week because you know that I always say when you very kindly guest on Political Frenemies that you're box office, and I mean you literally are. I mean, it pains me to say this in a way, but you know, it was when you were on that we had our best ever viewing figures. So I mean, I need to thank you really.
No, look, I love it. I think what you guys are doing is great. I love the fact that everyone's now coming up with podcasts and shows and things like that. I think we need more of it. I've set this up to have a bit of fun. Loads of Union Jacks, of course. I'm just having a check. Can't see any Union Jacks in your shot there, Matthew. Maybe it's just off screen.
No Union Jacks, but also no EU flags, which I did very nearly get out for you.
Well done. Oh, well done. I'm proud of you already. There's no Union Jacks. Not good enough, but no European flags. That's
I thought you might internally combust if I came on here with the European flags.
To be honest, I think it'd be straight into the waiting room again for you. Out you go. I'll just have another 20 minutes talking to myself, as usual. But anyways, look, right, let's dive into it. There is one thing in town this week. It is the budget. Rachel Reeves has effectively crashed the economy. Well, she's not crashed the economy. She's just crashed the entire country. We last night had our council meeting. We had a motion on the budget, the impact it will have, raising taxes to the highest rate in history, another tax rise, this mansion tax on houses of 2 million and 5 million, which, people might be asset rich but cash poor, a pay per mile tax on electric vehicles and hybrid plug-ins, which they still haven't worked out how the hell they're going to monitor that. Freezing the income threshold, so more fiscal drag and more people dragged into higher rates, breaking their manifesto promise. I mean, the list goes on and on. But I mean, Matthew, what's your views on Rachel Reeves' second budget?
Well, I mean, she got herself into a predicament, hadn't she, with the manifesto commitment? So her and Starmer and the whole party, because in my view, I know this might be a bit saddening for you as a card-carrying Conservative, but in my view, that if Labour were going to win that election, right?
It was obvious. It was obvious from day dot.
Absolutely. Labour were absolutely going to win that election. They didn't have to box themselves in the way that they did. And Rachel Reeves has never recovered from that. All right, they won the election. All right, it might have got them a few more seats. Okay, whatever. But she's never recovered from that. And I'm going to have to say, so I'm going to be fair to Kemi Badenoch. It's not something I often am. But I'm going to be fair to her.
This is really unique. No European flags and some kind words about Kemi.
I know what is Dr. Chris, my co-host, would love this. When he watches this, he'll be wondering what's happened to me. No, but to be fair to her, I thought from her perspective, she had a very good outing on Wednesday.
Really good.
I could have done without some of the more personal stuff. I could have done without that. But I thought that from her perspective as the Tory leader, she made the points that she needed to make. And, the big question that I'm asking myself, Matthew, and trying to answer is, who was this for? Who was this budget for, right? Because it won't please people on the right, because they'll say it's big spending and big taxing. It won't please those of us who are more to the left of Rachel Reeves, because, for example, I'm pleased that they've lifted the two-child benefit cap, but if that was right if that's right today, why was it not right last year? I mean, I don't know if you saw
where even they said we're not going to do it, and any MP who votes to get rid of the 2-child benefit cap was suspended. They suspended 7 MPs for it, so it wasn't acceptable
absolutely
last year. We've had a whole year of children in poverty, effectively, and then
right.
now they're happy to scrap it.
Absolutely, and I don't know if you saw the little clip of Keir Starmer being interviewed by Beth Rigby, you know, from Sky News. And she
Finally, Sly News are calling him out for what he
that-
is, which is a liar.
That's a lot of people saying, "Oh, she's Tory-tastic." No, I think she was just doing her job, putting questions to the Prime Minister. But he was doing this moral indignation thing of, we can't accept children in poverty. I'm like, from my perspective, yeah, you're damn right we can't accept children in poverty. But if we can't accept that today, we couldn't accept that 12 months ago either. So I just think it's another example of this Labour government doing a big thing that pleases absolutely no one. No set of voter is going to be happy as a result of this.
Now, I wanted to ask you, obviously, so yourself as a member of the Liberal Democrats, far and few of you in between at the moment. Most of you have all gone to the Green Party. I wanted to ask, what's the Lib Dems' view on the budget? Because we all saw Kemi Badenoch's response, but what I don't think people really stick around for is to see the responses from other party leaders, but also just from other MPs. So obviously Ed Davey, his response, I working in Parliament, watched, the whole blooming thing and the rest of it. Ed Davey's response, talk us through the Lib Dems' sort of view on where the budget maybe was right and where it should have gone further.
Yeah, so sadly, the TV cameras, apart from good old BBC Parliament, the TV cameras cut away by the time that Ed Davey gets up to speak, bless him. I think, look, I mean, part of me wishes that we didn't do this, but we do. We do the let's look both ways thing, right? So we say basically what I've just said about the 2-child benefit cap, saying that, yeah, we welcome that as a party. We've been calling for that. But why wasn't it a year ago? And then also saying, perhaps on the other hand, we need to go for growth, and the government is not doing enough on trying to energise the economy and to get growth into the system. Now. Rachel Reeves, I know you call her Rachel from accounts. I'll be a bit more respectful than that. But I think Rachel Reeves, would say, look.
I promise I'm not mansplaining.
Well, and just to interrupt myself, just on that, I think, look, I think that she's probably the victim of some misogyny, because sadly all leading female politicians are. Yes, I do think that. Do I think that is acceptable? No, I don't. But I think that you can think that at the same time as also thinking that she's using being the first female chancellor as some kind of cover for that political decision.
That is, I know it's a very slight tangent. I'll let you come back to you, but I think you've hit the nail on the head there. The point is that women going into politics have a far tougher journey than men do. And whilst obviously men have got to be cautious of that and be respectful, and there is always boundaries and limits, that doesn't stop them getting the fair accountability that a man would in that role. And so I completely agree. When Rachel Reeves came out with that argument of, being mansplaining, things like that, maybe definitely, there are civil servants or advisors who have mansplained things, but others is just explaining. And just because the person on the other end of it is a female, well, who knows? We don't know how people identify anymore. A man's a man. Who knows? The point is that it doesn't make it misogynistic. It doesn't make it wrong. And that's where I get a real bee in my bonnet about it, because it's almost like a free card. It's a free hit. Say, oh, well, it's sexist, it's a racist. It's like, no, they put themselves into this role. They are expected to then deal with the challenges and the accountability of it. But anyways, I know that's a little tangent, so I'll let you come back to your...
I think that's absolutely right. And part of me, I always think back to Margaret Thatcher, actually, and the fact
Margaret Thatcher, the milk snatcher. I mean, there you go. That is that misogynistic? Does that should we all be apologising to Thatcher?
I think, but also I think it's true to say, Matthew, and I think the likes of Ian Dale and others who've written biographies of her would probably admit that, in a sense, she couldn't be anything other than dominant, because if she hadn't been dominant, she'd have, in a sense, have been crushed by the the men around her. So look, I think women face a difficult time in politics, but I don't think it should be used as cover for bad decisions. I think the Lib Dems think that that you can do both things at the same time, which is that you can go for growth, and you can try and stimulate the economy, and you can help businesses, especially small businesses, whilst also being able to properly fund public services, which ultimately we all rely on. So, I mean, as ever with the Lib Dems, in a sense, we don't pick a side. We try and please everyone, whether we end up actually
right
doing
there
that
on
or
that
not.
fence and enjoy the splinters. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
the thing with the Lib Dems is to be honest, it's become very, very clear for anyone in politics where the Lib Dems are heading for. They are softening up towards the Labour Party, hoping that Labour get close enough to a majority at the next election that they might need a Labour-Lib Dem coalition. I've seen it in Prime Minister's questions. Ed Davey is like a bingo card. Stand up, blame the Tories for something that they did, and then ask the Labour government if they agree with him and would do something different. It's night and day obvious. So, I mean, is that the plan? I mean, it's the worst kept secret in politics. The Lib Dems are hoping that Labour do recover to a point where maybe Labour are on 200 MPs or 220 MPs, and the Lib Dems could maybe rise to 100, 120 and help create that majority.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, I think that it's very wishful thinking at the moment, because at the moment the polls seem to suggest, and part of me can't even believe this either, but the polls seem to suggest that there'll be a massive Reform majority. Obviously, that would sadden me greatly. But
not me too much, to be fair.
I know, and that then there would be the Lib Dems actually as the main opposition, but a long way.
God Almighty! A Reform government with a Lib Dem opposition. Could you imagine?
Well, I guess it'd be interesting to see what would happen then, because, would the Lib Dems then become the main kind of centre-left party of opposition?
It could be very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, look, Ed Davey is playing a careful game. Of course, as someone on the left of his party, I wish that we would position ourselves slightly to the left of Starmer's Labour, which, by the way, isn't very left. You don't need to be very left to be the left of Starmer's Labour. I know you might think that they're, massively left-wing, but I think most left-wingers will tell you that they're really, really not.
No, of course not. Well, this is a nice little segue into the second topic of the conversation. Do we think that the Labour Party has now effectively been taken over by the backbenchers? Because this budget, in my humble opinion, was purely to keep Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer in their jobs. That's all it was. 2-child benefit cap scrapped. We've seen all the bills suddenly being pushed through Parliament quicker. We've seen everything about minimum wage, the freezes on the rail fares, all these sorts of things. I am genuinely thinking that this last budget was making difficult financial choices, first year of a government, take the hit on the head. This budget was, oh my God, we're going to lose our jobs. Okay, backbenchers, what do you want? You want your 2-child benefit cap gone? Fine. You want this? Fine. I really think that the mansion tax, I really think that's what this was. So, I mean, is the Labour Party now effectively being run by the backbenchers? And do you think Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer have done enough to hang on for a bit longer?
Well, I think it's an interesting question that you posed. So, before yesterday, I'd probably have said, yes, this was purely, they've thrown the backbenchers some red meat, and they'll survive now until May, but probably not beyond May, I have to say. But then yesterday came out this news, which, I mean, you might welcome, Matthew, but which I certainly don't, which is that Labour are going back and get another...
It was another flip-flop, wasn't it? Another Labour flip-flop.
Another flip-flop, that they said that this worker protection thing was going to come from, day one when you started a job. That's explicitly what the manifesto said. They've now rolled back and said, oh no, well, we've consulted, we've done this, that and the other, and the people have said to us that it should only happen after 6 months. Well, then don't make the pledge. I mean, don't make the pledge.
And the fact that they would think that someone on day one of coming into a job would suddenly have all the rights that someone who's been there for a long time, but also the fact of on day one, you suddenly would have access to, working from home as whatever you want, statutory pays. You'd be able to argue, unfair dismiss, all these sorts of things. It's day one. day one of the job. You couldn't hire anyone at that point.
I mean, on the actual policy, me and you differ because I very much I would have welcomed this and think that I think there's very little that's more important actually than the rights of people at work, and in my view, those rights should come in on day one. But whatever your view on the policy, the fact is the government put this in their manifesto. They explicitly said that this is what would happen, and now they're breaking that pledge. And I think
it's dreadful politics.
Well, precisely, and I think a lot of Labour backbenchers will be furious about this. I think Starmer and Reeves have got until May. I think that they're going to lose Wales for the first time ever. That's in more than a century. Yeah. They're probably almost certainly not going to form the government in Scotland. This Labour government has been absolutely fantastic for the SNP. I mean, the SNP, which were going down the Swanee.
Oh, the SNP were on death's doorbed, and suddenly Labour have handed them a revival. I can't believe it.
And I think across the country, in England, they're going to lose many council seats. So I can't for the life of me see how Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves survive beyond May. And I think Wes Streeting is doing something very, very clever, which is I don't think that he personally, knows what's going on, so he can claim that it's not in his name. But clearly, his people are beginning to prepare the ground.
Well, we've seen the website, Wes for leader.
Indeed, and look, I think it pains me in a way because I don't think he's doing good enough on the NHS and much else besides. But
another name that has been thrown in, Angela Rayner. A lot of people are saying with this workers' rights bill and obviously being watered down, we're all waiting to see what Angela Rayner says. I mean, that I think is telling. A couple of them. I was listening into LBC earlier this morning, and they said backbench Labour MPs are texting in saying we're waiting to see what Angela says.
Right. Well, this is going to be really tricky for her, isn't it? Because she, ever since she stood down over the whole tax thing, she's played a very canny game, and she's remained very loyal. But she's been talking a lot about Labour values, right?
Yeah.
And will she now allow herself to be a bit critical of this government?
Yeah.
I mean, who
I personally, my opinion, my genuine thought is the leadership challenge for Labour is between Angela Rayner and Wes Streeting. Because I know everyone says about Andy Burnham, but he has to become a member of Parliament. Then he's got to have the support to be able to launch a challenge. Like, that is the logistics alone. I mean, Labour winning a by-election at the moment seems unlikely, for crying out loud. I mean, look at Runcorn and Helsby, for crying out loud. I do think it's between Angela Rayner and Wes. The difference is going to be Rayner fell on her sword, resigned, but she's a full-on left Labour story. This is brilliant. Wes in the cabinet, easy to move him straight into the number 10 role, but has he been too close to the Keir Starmer, Rachel Reeves? Is he going to completely reshuffle or just move deck chairs around? I mean, between those two, I know it's a horrible choice for you and I to have to make, but between those two, are you ready for Rayner or Wes for leader?
Well, I mean, if I was a Labour MP, and heaven forfend, but if I was a Labour MP, if I was a Labour MP, I'd vote for Angela Rayner because she's much closer to my personal politics. But I thought it was interesting, Matthew, and are these things cock up or are they conspiracy? But Wes Streeting on Wednesday for Prime Minister's questions and then the budget was not sat on the front bench. He was sat right next to the speakers. He couldn't have been further away from Reeves and Starmer, right?
Yeah, but I think just to explain to people who might not know, the way that it works in Parliament for reserving your seat, there's no such thing as reserved seats, is you have to be there in the morning for prayers. So you get in early in the morning, you sit in a seat, any seat, there's no allocated seats. And if you are there for prayers in the morning, you can put a little slip of paper in the chair that makes it your seat for the day. Now, normally, it's easy to do, about 80 or 50 MPs will be there for prayers at most. You can pick your seat, whatever you want. The front bench is obviously only for the cabinet and the Prime Minister. But on budget day, as you can imagine, every single MP is wanting to be there. Every single minister is wanting to be there. It's a race of being there first because the front bench you don't reserve at all. I'm told by others it wasn't a conscious choice of Wes's to be
Okay.
that far away.
Okay.
He was just late. He was running behind. He wasn't as early as others were. Things like that.
But it looks
So
symbolic, right?
it looked interesting though. The optics of it, of him. I mean, in the end, you see MPs sitting in the R's and sitting any space they can or standing. Wes was sat on the side of the speaker's chair. He was absolutely as far away as you could from where the PM and the Chancellor were sitting. So the optics were absolutely interesting.
I mean, I think we've got to the stage, Matthew, that, and this is a bad thing after just a year, right? Is that whenever I see Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves come on my TV now, I turn
it off.
Right, I turn off. And I appreciate that. I'm not one of their voters. I'm not one of their members. I'm a Lib Dem. So people can say what they like. But I think when you get to a stage where political obsessives, right, as me and you both are, are literally wanting to turn the TV off or turn the volume down when these people come on. I mean, how do you recover from that? I don't know.
Well, also the point is that we need to be listening to what's going on. We need to be knowing what's going on so we can provide our alternative. I mean, the whole point of this podcast, for example, is Matthew's Blueprint for Britain. It's supposed to provide some sort of hopeful, positive alternative and dig into the issues that the country's facing. But if I can't even be bothered to sit there and listen to, Lego hair Keir talk more and more and more about the fact his father was a toolmaker. I mean, did you know that? Did you know his father was a toolmaker?
I have heard.
It's just, no, really. It's just, it's, I don't know. Anyways.
And also with Rachel Reeves, I mean, I did a thing on social media, I think yesterday, where I said, maybe I think she needs to get some kind of training, and that's no bad thing. Margaret Thatcher famously had training on her voice and her appearance and all.
I'm told that Kemi Badenoch has had it recently, and we've seen the improvement that she's done in PMQ. She's become absolutely fire.
Right. And so I think Rachel Reeves needs some kind of training because, and I know you might say that she can't help her voice, and I feel bad because
anyone can, anybody can.
Well, quite, and I've condemned Kemi Badenoch for her being personal. I don't want to come across as being personal, but I just think that it would help Rachel Reeves if she didn't look so scared. And if she didn't, I just can't bear her voice, which is a terrible thing to have to admit, but I can't.
No, you're speaking my language. So back in the day, I was an actor. I did TV, theatre, stuff like that when I was a kid. Like, that's where I get my presenting, my confidence, my show of voice, things like that from. And you're completely right. It is the fact of just having those skills, knowing how to hold yourself, ways that you look from someone else's, that looking in the mirror, your voice control. Do you speak soft? Do you speak loud? Do you speak slow? Do you speak fast?
Do you know what I watched earlier today? I was doing a bit of. I had a spare half hour, so I was on good old YouTube, and I watched Tony Blair's last Prime Minister's Questions.
God, of all the things to watch.
I know, and again, whatever you think about his policies, and obviously I disagreed I left Labour over Iraq and all of that, but oh my goodness, that man could communicate, right? And the fact that
it's what Wes Streeting's got. Wes Streeting is a brilliant orator. I mean, just look, the day after Labour had thrown out the whole thing that he was apparently plotting against them, he was doing the media rounds making jokes about traitors and everything. Celebrity traitors, of course, not Labour traitors. They're still too busy leaking to the press.
But absolutely, and watching that PMQs, I mean, Tony Blair had arch Tory backbench Eurosceptics kind of laughing with him rather than kind of at him. And I thought, oh my goodness, that guy, whatever you think about his politics, knew how to communicate. And you felt, even if you disagreed with him, you felt confident that he looked confident in what he was saying. And you don't have that with Starmer and Rick. They're incapable, I think, of doing that. And I mean, if they last till the next election, I'll do a Paddy Ashdown and buy a hat and eat it. I mean, honest to goodness.
Oh, well, you've heard it here first. Matthew's going to be buying hats and eating them. I mean, I don't think don't worry. I'm pretty sure they'll be gone shortly. Right, look, third story of the discussion always is with the guests, and you've picked a topic that I'm really, really grateful you picked because it's something close to my heart and passionate about as well. You want to talk about men's health. Obviously, I think it's this week or this month is Men's Mental Health Week, or the Labour government's doing something about it. Today we've obviously had the news about prostate cancer checks. I mean, just men's health it's a topic that we don't talk about. Obviously, November, Movember. I mean, Christ, I wouldn't even shave this off if someone paid me to do it, because it would take me 2.5 years to grow back. It's just slowest growing hair in the world, me. But men's health, it's a really, really important topic. Do you want to just talk a bit more?
Yeah, I just think it's really important. Look, me and you are both men, and so this is obviously very, very personal to us, but also, it's going back many years now, but I lost a dear friend to him taking his own life. I lost a cousin, albeit one that I didn't particularly know because the family had moved over to America many years ago. But I lost a cousin as well, taking their own life. And in my view, Matthew, it's long since been my view that this should be seen as a national emergency. I mean, it's 80 plus men a week in this country who, mostly under 50, who take their own
It's the
lives.
biggest killer of men under 40, I think, isn't it?
Absolutely, and what is happening? That men feel they have no other place to turn. They have no one they can turn to. They have no one that they can speak to. And it's interesting because I'd never particularly, thank goodness, I'd never particularly suffered with my mental health until I lost my dear mum in 2022 in very difficult circumstances that I've talked about elsewhere before many times. And I was plunged into a grief that I'd never known anything like. It was really, really bad. And it was only because I was able to. If I'd waited for the NHS, I'd been waiting still. But I was fortunate enough at the time to be able to spend some money to have some private grief counselling, which really, 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 really helped. And so I just think we can't have a situation where men feel that asking for help and looking for help is somehow weak or somehow wrong or somehow whatever phrase you want to.
Well, that's exactly what I was just going to say. There's the whole argument that men are supposed to be this strong image, strong man, no issues, no problems, stiff upper lip, that sort of thing. And yeah, that's a very generational thing. But every now and then, you need a hug. You need someone you can vent to. You need someone you can argue with. It's part of the reason why probably we, others are in politics. You get sort of stuff off your chest and you can have that back and forth and you all laugh at the end of the day. It's what I love about your podcast that you guys do on Political Frenemies, is you always say in the introduction, where you bring people of different politics together, but you all still leave as friends. I mean, do you think, we could talk about politics specifically, but also just generally, do you think there is a bit too much, us and them? You've got to be singing from the same hymn sheet, or otherwise you're wrong, and there's no, because it can lead in all sorts of ways, whether it's school and bullying, whether it's falling out with friends or losing contact with people, or even politics, which many say is one of the loneliest professions, because you don't have anyone to talk to who's really a friend that isn't also a colleague or a co-counsellor or MP.
I think it's really interesting because I think, and obviously this is a generalisation, it's not going to be the case for everyone, Matthew, but I've long since felt that a lot of us get involved in politics because we're looking for another family. Doesn't mean that we've been abandoned by our own or anything like that, but we're looking for another group of people that we can coalesce around and who believe broadly the same things as us. I've made some very, very good friends in politics. In fact, I've got my good friend Andy Chandler staying over with me this weekend, and I'll be going to the train station to meet him later on. But Andy has become literally one of my dearest friends, and Brilliant. We have a thing that. And I don't know if this is easier for us, like as gay men or whatever. I don't know if that makes it easier, but we tell each other that we love each other, right? And that's because actually we do, and we think that is important for men to do. And men might be prepared to say it of their dad or perhaps even of their brother. There
is something that my wife does for me. So Ellie and I obviously got married last year, and there's something that she does for me is she buys me flowers. And that is something which I read somewhere like a couple of years ago. The only time men ever get bought flowers is their funeral. And I realised that's actually true. Men never get bought flowers. So one thing that she always does is, like, whether it's my birthday or something like that, she buys me a set of flowers. And, they're lovely. They sit in a vase. They die a week later, whoop-de-doo. And Christ, if they're in a pot, trust me, they still die a week later. We're not the best when it comes to keeping green plants alive. But it's just little things like that. And you talk about friends building connections around you. I mean, I like to think that nobody is alone. I like to think that people do have people around them, but sometimes it's that asking for help. It's that just saying, everyone, I'm the worst for this. If someone says, "How are you?" I'd say, "Yeah, busy." That's my go-to response.
Yeah.
Busy as always. That is my go-to thing. And I think, yeah, definitely if you're having a week where, it's worse than the normal, maybe you should just say, do you know what? It's been one of those weeks. I genuinely just, I don't know. Are men to? Is it not right for men? Is it not in our DNA to have that emotional side first, or is it something that actually is society and we need to discuss about it more and do more to raise awareness?
Well, I'm going to say two words now, which you probably think, "Oh, that's very woke," but I think it's true. Is that I think a lot of this is societal constructs. So when we're born, right, we don't know any of this stuff. It's what we're taught. It's what we're taught by parents. It's what we're taught by the media when we start consuming that. It's what we're taught by wider society, and I think that men just need to get better at saying, yeah, well, actually, things aren't particularly great at the moment, and here's the reasons why. And that's why people always say, it's funny that, when people ask me how I am, my first response is always, yeah, not bad, thanks. And then actually the smart thing
is sort of go-to generic push it away response.
Yeah, but the smart thing, if the person really cares about the answer, is to say, no, really, how are you?
Yeah, ask it again. Yeah,
that's the one. Ask again. And so, and it's funny about me and Dr. Chris, actually, my co-host, in that we as you know, Matthew, we disagree on almost everything, right? We disagree on almost everything. And yet, I consider Chris a really dear friend. As we're recording this, I'll be down at Good Old Talk tomorrow morning, and then when I come out of that, I always meet up with Chris, and we go and have a coffee.
What time are you on Talk tomorrow?
I'm on Talk from 10:20 till 11.
Damn it! I'm on before you. I'm on the show. Wait, no. Yes, I'm on the show before you. Damn! We keep trying to get ourselves on the same blooming shows.
I know, and I'm a little bit frightened actually for tomorrow because Peter's away and I'm on with Alex. Do you think she'll? What do you think?
No, well, I'm on tomorrow morning. I think it's with Mark Dolan. I think tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
and then I'm on with Alex on the Sunday show. So, we're always we will end up. Well, look, we're ended up on this together, but we will end up on Talk together, I'm sure, again.
Yeah, I can't wait. But yeah, it'll be interesting with Alex tomorrow. I've kind of got used to doing it with Peter, and he's got used to my kind of little foibles and things. So
Alex is, Alex is great. There was once where she was just, it was the end of a long week, absolutely done. So just basically left it with me for the hour, which was so much fun because we just sort of batted and forthed about stuff. But I just want to come back to men's health. Obviously, we've talked very heavily about mental health, obviously, but there are other elements of health as well. Today, it was announced that doctors are clinical experts, or some expert, there's always an expert, are saying that we shouldn't have mandatory prostate cancer checks on men.
Right.
I don't understand this because surely the idea is if you have to have an annual checkup after, say, I don't know what the age is, 35, 40, 50, I don't know. But if you have to have an annual checkup and it is a mandatory thing, you catch things earlier, you keep people healthier and live longer.
Yeah, I really don't know what to think about this, Matthew, because my instinct is to feel very saddened at the decision that has apparently been taken today, or the guidance that has been given today. But I've been listening to a lot of coverage, on the radio, etc., and there's been lots of people who know far more about all of this stuff than me saying that this is the right decision. So I don't know, and it's it's the aforementioned Wes Streeting who's got to take the final decision. I think in March. I think he'll be under a lot of pressure to not go with this guidance. But as for whether it's the right thing to do after today, I don't pretend to know.
one of the things that I think will be interesting is when we talk about cancer or things like that, it's always who can you think of who's had that. And obviously we all have family members or friends or things like that who have had cancer in the past. I'm really proud of the fact that people like the King now, Catherine, Princess Catherine, um, people like David Cameron are coming out and saying their experiences, because these are household names. They're people that anyone can relate to. I think that's important, because if we don't talk, say cancer is going to affect 1 in 3 of us or 1 in 2 of us or anything like that. Well, if we don't talk about it, then we'd never know about it. We need to make sure people are aware.
Well, I mean, it's my view, and obviously, of course, I hope this doesn't become the case, but it's my view that probably we'll end up in a situation whereby at some point in each life you will get cancer, right? And yeah, I that would be terrible, but I think we're sadly headed in that direction. Yeah, I mean, I think David Cameron has been very brave in what he has said. I think Sir Chris Hoy, who has also spoken out today, has been brave, and I understand their points of view. But equally, I heard expert after expert today saying, no, this is the right decision. So I can't pretend to know what is the right thing to do. I don't envy West drinking.
No, absolutely. Look, it's one of those things where at the end of the day, we have to leave these decisions for others and see effectively what the science and what the data says. But on the overall thing about mental health, I think it is a really important thing to talk about. I'm grateful that you've picked it as your topic, because it's something which we wouldn't talk about otherwise. That's why I always love the idea of this third topic being completely to the guest's idea, because here's me thinking about the budget, and and you've pulled an absolute blinder with a really, really important thing for us to talk about. So I'm really, really grateful, and thank you. Look, I have to say, it is always, I'm going to use your phrase, people from different political parties leaving as friends. I mean, absolutely. I love what you do on Political Frenemies, which I'll make sure to put the link below so everybody can follow and get involved as well. Tell people how often Political Frenemies is and who some of your guests are that you've got coming on.
Yeah, so it's every week. I'll be recording, as we're recording this, in about 15 minutes time. So we record normally at Friday at 6 p.m. And this week, it was really funny actually. My friend Andy messaged me earlier on, and he said, "Good luck today, Matthew." He said, "I know that you're doing the thing with Matthew, aren't you? And then you're doing the thing with Russell Quirk." I'm like, "Yes, I am."
Ah.
So that will be
double headers of big superstars.
Oh well, quite right. Literally quite right. So it'll be interesting with Russell, because he'll be our first reform person on the pod. And look, I'm expecting a very robust debate. I expect, obviously, me and him to be a little bit hammer and tongs, but with us, it's never personal. It's never ever. That's the thing that, and again, you can debate how personal or not Kemi Badenoch was on Wednesday, but my view is that actually, if you're having to get personal, it means that your argument isn't that great. And so I think let's talk about the politics. Let's talk about the policy. Let's have a bit of banter about what is going on with our different political parties, but actually it's not about having to go at the person, So people can find us on YouTube and all the podcast platforms. And you're very good, Matthew, because you often come into the breach when a guest has let us down. So thanks very much.
Always. No, I'm always happy to. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's great that we have that sort of back and forth and sparring, and then we all leave as friends. Look, Matthew, thank you so much for coming on. This is Matthew's Blueprint for Britain. We try and have some sort of good fun discourse talking about the things of the week. I mean, you've not had one Matthew this week. You've had 2 Matthews, but only one of them spelt his name correctly. I'll leave you to decide in the comments which one has. Look, get involved, like, share, subscribe. I don't know, tweet about it, text about it. I don't really know anymore. I don't know any. I just have the opinions. You guys can do all the other things. Matthew, I am super, super grateful. Go prepare yourself for Russell Quirk. It's going to be great. I can't wait to see that when it comes out later. I will get on and edit this. This is Matthew's Blueprint for Britain. I'm going to go and put on another Union Jack shirt because I'm about to go on to Talk TV now for the evening. I've just been texted and asked to come on. So thank you. Good night. Have fun. And let's see what happens.